In 2023, I did something that terrified me. I announced my dream to the world. Over the next few years, I'm setting out to become the first person that climbs the 7 summits. The highest mountain on each continent. From sea level, 0 meters, and back to sea level. Every single meter, up and down. For a whole year, I prepared for the first 2 mountains. After a nagging heel injury that I worked hard to rehabilitate, I received one final curveball with less than 3 weeks to go. I injured my back and then my neck. I never faced odds like this in my life, but with everything happening, I set off in an attempt to become the first person that climbs South America's highest mountain, from sea to sea. This is that story. Just arrived in Madrid. I have one connecting flight to Santiago. That flight, funny enough, is just a few minutes before the new year. Last flight of the year.
Gracias.
I arrived in Chile. Now I would have had to go and take a taxi and a bus to go to my final destination, but I got saved by my new friend, Mónica.
Hello.
Gracias.
La única persona que va con en el avión, sit near you.
Sí, sí. Monica and her husband Alvaro went out of their way to drive me to the start point, the town of Concón by the Pacific Ocean. A year, more than a year of planning, and finally, we are here. But somehow, even with a year of planning, I still managed to pick the worst day to start. The 1st of January, when everything shut, including the campsite I planned to sleep at. That campground was closed, but it was to be expected, to be fair. The first day turned out longer than I planned, but it felt good to have one day done. I had a shower. I willed myself to do some stretching, because if I don't do it every day, I know the next day is gonna be horrendous. I did struggle today, not so much with the neck, but with tightness in my upper back. It's 7 a.m. now. Today I have to go into a city called La Calera, 31 kilometers away. Nothing felt right during the first few days. I was pretty much in constant pain. I was afraid my injuries would put a stop to the trip. But unlike the previous months, when I was wondering if I'll make it, now I could actually do something about it. My mantra became, every step is progress. It's very noisy on the main road. But I'm free.
Hola, joven.
Hola.
¿Le gustaría leer un tema basado en la Biblia o leer una cartita?
Perdón, mi inglés no es muy bien.
A tu inglés no, o sea, el español no está muy bueno.
Mi español no, mi inglés, perdón.
Yo me llamo Gina.
Sí,
Ella se llama Silvia.
sí,
¿Ya?
encantado.
Entonces nosotros somos testigos de Jehová.
I just came from the supermarket. I'm walking like a certain distance every single day and then I'm stopping to watch. But then I'm walking at least like 2-3 kilometers on top of that to try to sort shit out.
Oh yeah, classic.
Like it took me a while to cash out money because it didn't come with the English option until like I spent like a lot of time working it out and searching for like 3 different banks. I need you, Viv. This day started like any other. I planned to walk 36 kilometers past the town of Katemo and Wild Camp. But within 5 minutes of starting, I hit a problem. The GPS took me to a river crossing with no bridge. I backtracked and connected to a bridge further up, a detour that added 3 kilometers to my day. This also left me with a question. Were there other river crossings without a bridge? We are on a new road and we have 18 kilometers until Katemo. As the day progressed, the heat rose and the landscape changed. I was entering a beautiful mountainous area, but walking at the constant incline in the baking sun started to wear me down. Soon I started debating my plan. Should I continue to my camp spot for the night or stop short and sleep at the hostel in town? 32.5 kilometers later, we are entering Katemo. Having done an extra 3 kilometers already, I decided on the easy option, only to find the hostel closed. I'm not gonna lie, I am knackered, and I did not find the last 8 or so kilometers easy because of the heat. The reality was that my decision to cop out frustrated me. If I was going to succeed on this mission, I couldn't give up that easily. I found a little opening by the side of the road, and I tried to be quiet because there are farmers and stuff, and as you can hear, their dogs lie further on. The tent should fit in there. There were 2 farmers that came with a lot of goats, and both of them saw me. I don't think I'm on anyone's land. I'm just on the side of the main road towards someone's land. Bro, what happened to you, bro? That night I slept very little, concerned about the people around, but also about that question. Were there other river crossings without a bridge? At 5 a.m., I checked again my route for the day, only to find that I had to cross another river. Another misty start of a day. I had 10 kilometers to walk until I found out my fate. The anticipation was killing me. If there isn't a bridge, I'm gonna have to wade through water, and I have no idea. I can assume this river is massive, but I have no idea if I can pass through there. And if I can't, then I'm truly, because I can't see another way than going and backtracking all the way for 2 days. So far, the beginning of the day, I felt quite tired and negative. But Viv told me today that they're taking the flight this evening to go to Mendoza, to Argentina. And that gave me life, because I think in 3 days I'm gonna see her. I'm on now the last road that leads to the river,
I think I'm just about 5 minutes away.
Seeing tire trucks gave me hope.
I can even see the traffic on the other side.
It meant cars were passing through here. I was wrong.
Ah, f***ing hell. Look at that. The road is just there.
After a few seconds of debating if I could wade through the water, I dropped the thought. I looked at the map and realized there was a private farm road going in my right direction. If I could just access it, it would lead me to San Felipe, a town en route to my destination. I walked towards the road, but quickly realized it was gated. The very thought that pushed me forward for the last days was now slipping away. The only thing I could think about was that the 3 days until I saw her now became 5. And with that one thought, I said fuck it. The gate had barbed wire, so I decided to jump the less protected fence next to it. My heart was pounding. I went across a farm to connect to the road I needed.
I am taking the longest detour through where I'm not supposed to be, which is really not ideal.
After a lot of effort and sneaking around, I eventually made it to the road.
I'm really not supposed to be where I am right now. I never saw someone make such an effort to barricade one road so hard.
Five minutes later, I got caught by security. Thankfully, Chris, the security guard who caught me, agreed to escort me to the other side of the farm, in the right direction.
I was trying to sneak through, and at some point I met my friend, the security guard, Chris. Chris. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. He's taking me out now.
However, after 10 minutes of walking, Chris suddenly made a 45-degree turn and started walking away from the farm exit, down a vineyard. This made me paranoid, because in no time we were out of anyone's sight. But then,
¿Esto es un puente para Aconcagua río?
Vamos aquí, acá está el río Aconcagua.
Holy shit!
I was speechless. He took me to a bridge only the farm had access to. One that crossed the river and got me to the exact road I was meant to be on. Chris was just one of the many amazing Chilean people I met along the way. That day turned out to be the longest yet. But it was exactly the type of adventure I signed up for.
Crazy to think that in 10 days time I might be higher than any of the points that I'm looking at, and it all looks pretty high right now.
Hoy pienso en qué pasó y cómo me afectó las horas que pasé.
There is no hard shoulder, but not only that, the trucks and vans and everything come so close.
No entiendo bien por qué mi abuelo distraído se bajó sin mí. Yo seguí.
Oh my god. I've been going up this steep hill now for at least 45 minutes. Progress with every single step. Progress, 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 progress. And it doesn't look like people have to pay unless you're with a vehicle. No necesito pagar para caminando para aquí. No. Muchas gracias. 29.9 kilometers in. Hola.
Pude ni llorar, llorar, llorar. Eres la niña perdida. El chico me preguntó. No había entendido que esa niña era yo, era yo, era yo. Después de 6 horas encontré donde bajar, crucé la calle, di con el lugar, se abrió la puerta y todo mi mundo me abrazó, me abrazó, me abrazó.
Looks like this one's a bit more tricky to pass.
After a full day of being in my own head, I reached a section of roadworks. A few of the workers approached me and said they had seen me walking for the last 3 days and cheered me on. This was the boost I needed, in time for the biggest ascent of the day.
Estaba sola frente al mar. Nunca me voy a olvidar.
Valparaiso, where I came from, 192 kilometers. Pwah.
Frente al mar. Acapulco era el lugar. Acapulco.
This is a ski resort place. Hopefully you can find the hotel open now and some water in here. The guy from the hotel helped me find the best, without any doubt, camping spot. The water at the hotel was extremely expensive. I paid the equivalent of £10, yeah, for a liter and a half of water. My god. Check out that spot and that view. I'm super happy because tomorrow I finally get to see Viv. And that's been one of the things that has been pushing me in the last days. I kept thinking like 3 more nights of going to sleep, 2 more nights of going to sleep, and this is the last night of going to sleep, and tomorrow I get to see her. My god. It was one wind gust and it absolutely tore some of the tent away. This is not good news for what's to come.
It's been a pretty cold night. The sleeping pad deflated at some point and I ended up on the rocks. Ready to go now. Ready to see Viv. Ready for a rest day.
It looks like we're getting closer to the border now. It's always interesting when you cross a country border on foot. The last time I done this was with Viv in Panama.
This was an unusual border crossing. The normal route was through a tunnel connecting Chile to Argentina, only accessible by car. The only way on foot was over a high mountain pass at 3,800 meters.
Over here are the switchbacks that go over that pass there on the left. That's the tunnel that leads into Argentina. I just did the first series of switchbacks all the way down from where you see the road. I believe that triangular thing might be the statue that sits at the top of the pass. God, these switchbacks are never ending. That's, I think, the third or the fourth batch. I feel like I'm struggling with the altitude, but also with the incline. And my body just like, my legs hurt, my neck hurts. And all I'm actually thinking is, how much of this is psychological? Because I know that if everything goes to plan today, there's a rest day tomorrow. What if I had to go again tomorrow? Probably would have been absolutely fine. I think I did from this morning around 900 meters of elevation in 5 hours. I ran out of food now. I'm nearly out of water. Snow is starting here, and up there is the statue of Christ the Redeemer, which sits at the border between Chile and Argentina. I'm seeing that statue. You know, when you see something on photos, oh, that's not me in the face. Oh my god, we are getting there. What an insane view.
During the last couple of days, Viv and my parents-in-law were in Mendoza, sorting out permits and renting equipment. We'd agreed to meet in Las Cuevas, a town in Argentina close to the Chilean border.
I can't wait to see him. Where are you, Chris? I see that pumpkin. That's my boy. I'm so happy to see you.
Viv and I are now looking at the sign that says Aconcagua. After 7 days, finally getting to the entrance of the national park.
We had a nice romantic walk along the side of the road.
Yeah, it was nice to share with Viv all of some of the ups and downs. That's the sign. Those are the parents, the support crew. What are we currently doing, Viv? 1 day before going on the mountain?
Paging my knees.
3 weeks earlier, Viv injured her knee while training. She hoped the inflammation would calm down before the climb, but it didn't.
So yeah,
I'm so sorry, man.
it wasn't even this injury I was worried about.
She was told by her physio that climbing wasn't a good idea, but she made a decision to push on and try either way.
They're not very happy.
No, but they will be. Check that out. Those 3 bags are gonna go on the mules. Bye, Marita. Hopefully see you in 2 weeks while we summited. Oh, It's the beginning of a big 2 weeks, eh?
Because Aconcagua can take up to 3 weeks to climb, we used the company to take our surplus of luggage up to base camp, and then went back to the entrance of the national park to resume from where I left off. We're starting in a team of 3. John is joining us as well, my father-in-law, to Confluencia camp. It's all happening, it's all kicking off.
Can't believe it.
Let's hope we don't end up inside one of those.
Even with us putting 3 bags on the mule, these backpacks weigh a ton. Because those mules are going to Mulas, that's the second camp. A lot of food, all of the shelter, and a lot of other stuff is coming straight with us. We made it where?
To Confluencia.
Oh yeah. We said goodbye to John and went looking for a spot to pitch our tent.
This is gonna be home for the next 2 days.
We just spoke with a few guys now that came from the higher camps. They went and they attempted the summit, and the closest that they got was 6,700 meters. And they were saying that they never experienced cold like that in their lives.
You can tell that on everyone's mind here, the wind is the main concern. Everyone's like checking apps and stuff like that, and just hoping it's gonna die down by the time that they hit their acclimatization window.
Viv and I have been in tents before on mountains, but yesterday felt pretty real. You get to see what like the wind can do. We saw one of the tents like completely blow over, and people just like scrambling in the night to like fix their tent and stuff. Today we're heading for a little acclimatization hike to Plaza Francia, 4,200 meters.
How are you feeling?
I felt better. Definitely had a few issues with injuries before I came here in the last few months. So today is the first real test.
Of pushing it.
Yeah, pushing it, and we'll see. But yeah, my body has definitely felt better.
Man, these winds are hardcore. Get down, babe. Get down.
This is not even 4,000 meters high. Imagine what's up there at the summit. I knew that on this trip the wind might be an issue, but on this hike I realized how serious it was.
So that behind us is the south face of Aconcagua.
It is absolutely stunning. Over the last weeks, we had been following the progress of mountain guides on their attempts to summit Aconcagua. The weather windows were short, with some teams even having to rush and use supplemental oxygen. Very few had made the summit so far. This day left us wondering if we would have the same fate.
Good morning. Today the mountains are covered in mist. Viv and I are leaving Confluencia camp and we're going all the way to Plaza de Mulas for the first time today. We had some good news that on the 16th the winds are going down, which means that we have a chance to summit. The plan that we made, we have to alter it all the time based on the wind.
Yeah.
Did you summit?
No, Camp 3.
Camp 3.
Yeah.
Well done. Good
Was it because of the wind?
Yeah, and I got a really bad cough too. And the winds are so strong.
Yeah.
Really cold.
Yeah.
So not many people are going higher than that. Your gear doesn't do anything. They're saying it's like an 8,000 meter peak right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of people just never brought that type of clothing.
Over a period of 8 hours, we slowly made our way through a long desertic valley leading to Aconcagua's base camp.
That is such a welcome sight.
Is it just me or was this hike here to the base camp a lot harder than you thought?
So much harder than I thought. That was long.
It was long. I love soup and I've been looking forward to this moment the whole day. Is it good?
Oh, good.
What are you having?
Roast chicken.
And me?
Broccoli and potato.
Woo! I'm sorry.
It's just so shit. I don't want to risk doing permanent damage, so I just think it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
I don't want to risk your trip either.
Today was not an easy day. The last few days weren't easy actually. Because
For the past hour, still trying to come to terms with the fact that I'm not going to be summiting Aconcagua this trip, which is really quite heartbreaking.
she couldn't strain her leg anymore in the night. So we had to have that shitty decision this morning.
I was struggling with a back injury for so long, and I really thought I fixed it. And then I tore the meniscus in my knee so randomly, and that seems to be the thing that's stopping this trip now for me.
I'm going now to Camp 1, drop my high altitude gear, crampons, boots, gas.
Since Aconcagua is nearly 7,000 meters, I was going to the higher camps to adjust to the altitude, and then descending to the lower camps to recover.
Then there's some of us that have superhuman abilities. God damn.
Along the way, I was also stashing equipment so I didn't have to carry everything in one go.
I'm putting all of my stuff in a bag and in the tent behind me, which belongs to the company that we're with. This is food, boots, crampons, everything I need to go up there later on. What are we doing?
Taping.
Taping your knees again? It's a good thing people can't smell the smells in this tent.
I can't smile, my lips hurt too much.
Mine too.
Since we only had one tent, Viv rented a bed with one of the companies.
I have moved camp, so Chris is now up above at Plaza de Canada. I purchased a bed here, $30 a night.
I hiked back to Camp 1, where I would be sleeping that night.
Finally to Camp 1, 750 meters later. I retrieved my bag that I brought here yesterday, and that is my tent.
After dropping all my weight, I then hiked to Camp 2 to further acclimatize.
Over there is Camp 1, and down there is Camp Plaza de Mulas. This morning was super sad because we had to find Viv a bed to sleep in Plaza de Mulas. It's not even that I'm gonna end up trying to do this by myself. It's the fact that we both planned this together for so long, and she was so looking forward to it. I made it to Nido de Condores.
2 years before, I summited Pico de Orizaba, the third highest peak in North America. That summit was almost the same height as this camp. It was crazy to think that I would be sleeping here in just a few days.
I'm gonna get me some water, then I'm gonna boil it, and then I'm gonna put chlorine inside of it. Look how clear that is. Ugh. This is why I miss Viv. She's usually like, it's fine. You look like at a piece of food that's expired for a year and a half. It's fine. Eat it. One of the guides was so kind to give me a filter, this thing, so I can pour the water in this, and then I can boil the water. My God. It was so cold last night. It wasn't as windy as I thought it was gonna be, but it was freezing. I ended up putting every single layer that I had. That's ice in the water.
Early in the morning, I made the journey back to Camp 2 to leave some equipment.
I came here freezing. It is so windy and it is so cold. Tried to find the company that I'm with and asked one of the guys, I was like, where can I put my stuff? And I just like stumbled in, started putting on more layers. This cold is no joke.
After 3 days of doing acclimatization rotations, I finally went down to base camp for a rest day.
It's the 14th today, and there's news that there's going to be bad weather on the 15th, 16th. Hello. Viv, is that you? If you're wondering how the bathroom situation, washing situation is around here, there are 3 or 4 sinks over there that everyone uses for dishes, sometimes for clothes as well. And you also have a bunch of toilets over here.
Australians would call them long drops.
Yeah.
You see everything that goes down, unfortunately. It's not very nice.
You get the idea. We spent most of the day recovering, and also managed to find a physio to help with Viv's knee. In a small world turn of events, I also met James, a bloke who cycled from Concon to climb Aconcagua from the sea. He and his partner Emma were going to summit just a few days after I was. Very quickly, we became good friends.
Windy today, eh, Viv?
After getting glimpses of what the wind can do, that evening a storm was forecasted. With winds as high as 75 kilometers an hour at base camp and up to 135 kilometers an hour at the summit.
This is bad. Fucking hell. Oh my god. Are you okay? That is so aggressive. Right now, there are people at Camp 1, 700 meters higher, and in Camp 2, at 5,500 meters. You can hear it coming from the summit, and then it hits down here, and it's just insane. It is now 1:18 in the morning. Both of us just scrambled outside quickly to pee. It is so bad. The radioing from the high camps. All of the staff came outside to check if everyone was okay in the tent.
What are you doing that look after you?
Yeah,
You've got like hurricane.
it's hurricane winds.
We spent the whole night holding onto the walls of the tent. Neither of us slept a wink. And by the morning, the wind had ripped a hole in our tent.
Half of the camp is destroyed. That toilet over there tipped last night. There's holes in everything. And the cafe at the end there got absolutely wrecked on the side. It tore this whole part off.
With no sleep and a summit window fast approaching, I made my way to Camp 2 to prepare for a summit push the next day.
Up there is Camp 1. Last night, because of the winds, one of the tents blew all the way here.
I was struggling to think straight. I felt anxious.
When we were down in camp, I felt like I didn't want to leave to start this long day. It's like 6-7 hours, 1,200 meters of ascent, heavy bag. I just didn't want to go. And I had like so many negative thoughts that I was trying to suppress. It's strange to think that after so many days starting from Concon, this might be the last one of an uphill, and then it's just downhill from here. And I really want it to be a downhill. I'm gonna do my best to make that happen.
The moment I closed my eyes, I realized something was wrong. I couldn't catch my breath. I remember the conversation days earlier between staff members at base camp. They were talking about a mountaineer that had died there in his sleep. I couldn't shake that thought. Suddenly, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I was having a panic attack. I opened the tent door and dove outside into the cold. It was the only thing I could think of to calm myself down. I knew I shouldn't go for the summit, but when I heard people's alarms go off, I took an impulsive decision and left. For an hour, I tried to catch up with the teams ahead, but couldn't. As you can tell, I didn't make the summit. I stopped at around 6,000 meters at Camp 3 this morning. It was a mistake going this morning when I knew that I didn't sleep for 2 nights in total. But when I heard the people going, something just came over me and I started to get ready. Yeah. I don't think it's fair not to tell you what happened that night. Going up to Camp 3 took every bit of energy that I had. I was drained. I hadn't slept for 2 nights. I tried to motivate myself any way I could. I was trying to remind myself of all the tough days that I had in the mountains. You did an 18-hour day on Possets once, 17 hours on Monte Rosa, and 20 hours on Mont Blanc. You can do this. But I couldn't. I just didn't have the energy. I managed to get to Camp 3 just as dawn was breaking. It was cold, dark. I was alone. It was at this moment that I realized that it wasn't like I didn't have enough energy to get to the summit and back. I didn't have enough energy to get to the summit in the first place. I remember I turned around, I took a few steps back. I then turned around again, took a few steps forward. I couldn't face that it was over. I had tears in my eyes. I didn't want to let go. I stood there in the dark cold, remembering all the effort I put in to get there. But I had no more effort to give. I was done. As dawn was approaching, I made my way back to the tent. I was beyond exhausted. All I wanted to do was sleep. I opened the tent door and collapsed. But the moment I closed my eyes, the same breathlessness came back. I texted Viv to let her know that I was coming back down. My hands were cracked from days of being in cold weather. With each press of a button, I was getting more frustrated. I had enough. I packed up all of the equipment that took me days to carry up and left. With that one decision, it was all over. When I arrived at base camp, the first people I met were a group of Estonians we made friends with a week earlier. After I told them what happened, I also said I'm not gonna go back up again. I told them that even if I wanted to try again, I made the mistake of bringing down all of the equipment that took me a week to carry. Carl, one of the Estonians, picked up my backpack. He looked at me and said, "I think you can do it." When I found Viv, I told her I'm not planning to go back up. With the next summit window approaching in 2 days, in that moment, I honestly couldn't face the idea of going back. I remember saying to her, "Screw the mountain. Let's just spend the rest of the days in Santiago chilling together." But she saw through it. She told me, "Chris, this isn't you talking. It's the tiredness. Sleep on it and make a decision tomorrow." I went to the medical tent to make sure my oxygen saturation was okay. I didn't decide on going back yet, but in case I did, I wanted proof that everything was working right. I got the all clear. The next day there was nothing to decide. I knew. And 50 minutes later, you get to see a view of the camps behind me. Camp 1, and then very low in the valley, base camp. Nido de Condores, 6 hours and 20 minutes later. We're back. Hi. Holy shit!
You have no idea how happy I am to see you back here.
You have no idea how happy I am to see you come here.
Oh, dude. I am so happy that I bumped into James and Emma here. I was like a little kid, like I think we all were. And we're gonna summit tomorrow together. We're leaving at 3:30 a.m. Get in. It's 2:50 a.m. Absolutely freezing outside. It's time to slowly get going now. Let's give this another try.
In the early hours of the morning, James, Emma, and I started making our way up the mountain. It was so cold that even the scree froze in place.
I know.
After 3 hours of hiking, we arrived at Camp 3, where I had stopped before, just as the sun was rising.
It is bitterly, bitterly cold, but clear and beautiful. James is struggling at the moment. He vomited real bad.
James vomited a few times since we reached Camp 3, a sign of altitude sickness. He told me not to wait for them and waved me on.
I think James and Emma turned back, and I really feel for them because I know how that feels.
Looks like that's the traverse. And then when it gets steep up there, it's called the Canaleta. Oh my god. That is the summit. I am so tired. I am working way past any sort of limit that I have. Normally I wouldn't do this, but this whole 2 weeks here has been just crazy, and I don't want to come back. In all honesty, for that last hour, my motivation was simply not to have to return there again. It had nearly been 10 hours since the start, and for the last 2, I felt like I was running on empty. I'm gonna have to be very careful on the way down. And also ask a bunch of strangers for water because I ran out. As I reached the summit, I was grateful to see a fellow Romanian climber I met days earlier. I went straight to him and asked him for water. Dan poured his whole water bottle into mine. He's the reason I made it down safely. Top of South America's highest mountain. I feel bad that Viv isn't here. During Christmas, when I strained my neck and I couldn't move it, I had this dream that both of us came to the summit and we saw the sea, and she made a joke saying, "It's not that far away." I wish she would be here to see this. This day ended up being one of the more memorable ones. In total, it took me 16 hours to get to the summit and back down. Before I left for the summit, Viv was trying to get her insurance to pay for an evacuation because of her knee. That night, she sent me a message saying she got evacuated. I was happy for her, since she wouldn't have to do the grueling 30-kilometer walkout with an injured knee. But I didn't realize she didn't tell me the full story. When I made it down, I found out from a staff member that she got dizzy, fainted, and hit her head on a rock. The medical team deemed it unsafe for her to stay on the mountain. She was evacuated by helicopter as a precaution and sent to the hospital in Mendoza for a brain scan. Thankfully, it was only a mild concussion, and she would come and meet me in the next couple of days. Yes, I can see the bridge. At the end of 2019, before COVID, Viv and I came here and did the Confluencia trek. At that point, I still had the 7 summits as a goal, but not from sea to sea. And I remember coming and looking at this mountain and thinking, when am I gonna do it, and am I gonna do it? It feels surreal.
We can see Chris finally turning.
At this point, I think both Viv and I were a bit broken. So we had a slow, anticlimactic reunion at our own pace. Two days later from when I arrived in front of Aconcagua National Park. Sign is just there. Time to walk 200 kilometers.
Thank you for driving us, John, and handling logistics and everything.
Yeah, as always.
Thank you very much. Oh no. You can see now the switchbacks. They're gonna go up.
No hubiera pensado que yo me iba a enamorar. Jamás no quería saber nada más.
That is where we're going. Down there.
Apareciste de repente y me hablaste con una voz tan dulce que perdí la razón y mi corazón. Ay, amor.
¿Cómo te fue?
Que yo siempre de quererte, de amarte y admirarte. Ay, amor. No te preocupes.
Don't be aggressive. Don't be aggressive.
Lo que siento yo por vos es cada vez más fuerte. Yo pensaba que esto del amor ya se me había pasado y que no era para mí nunca más. Pero el amor llega así, de esa manera.
I'm in a campground, maybe 3 days before finishing the walk to sea level. Last night, I just started thinking about all of the things that still needed to be sorted out for Africa. Because there are only like maybe 10 days, maybe less than that, 9 days until I'm gonna be at that start line. I feel like I put these two goals way too close to each other. But when I decided to do it, I thought it was gonna be possible, so it should be possible.
Three weeks earlier, on the walk to the mountain, I reached a river crossing with no bridge. I had to find a different road back to the sea this time. But yet again, the road I found was a farm road, and I had no idea if it was accessible.
I'm getting now to a junction that I couldn't see before on Google Maps. And this is where it all hangs in the balance again.
Without noticing, the road behind me started to be blocked off by dogs. I was heading to a junction that I wasn't sure had an accessible road. At this point, all I had was hope.
Oh, please, 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 please. Get me out of here.
I was screwed.
Hey, boyo, hey. Hey. Oh my god, thank f***.
But luck saved my ass once again.
Okay, it looks like there's a road. It looks like there's a chance. That down there is the motorway, the very thing that I tried to avoid. You know, when you're back home, you're stressing because you're late for work, and you're stressing because you paid for something that was too expensive, and now you're thinking, do I have enough money to cover that payment? But stress is always there. And the last couple of days I was stressing about this road. Can I pass through it? What if it doesn't connect? Am I gonna have to go via that big motorway over there and walk through it? Life is so funny. You just trade one thing for the other. finally the sign. Bienvenidos a la calera.
Years ago, this was all a crazy dream. When I first had the idea of climbing the 7 summits, I didn't even know what the highest mountain in South America was. At that point, this peak felt so far away and foreign to me that I thought I would never arrive. Over this month, I had endless options to fail and quit. But not giving up is a funny thing. Trying is a funny thing. And believing in yourself is a funny thing.
Pardon. Oh my god! I didn't even see you.
I've learned that if you take small steps in the right direction, make a plan, and believe in yourself, one day you'll find that even the hardest climbs eventually reach an end.